Well, partner, welcome to another episode of our podcast, In the Box, talking to some of our college kids or police officers that went to college in certain areas of our country.
Well, thanks for having me back, DO Scanner. It has been a while since we put out a podcast. We took a brief break, and we're coming in hot and going to kick the season off right now.
Well, what we want to do is get back into the college. We're starting to recruit at different universities throughout our area, throughout the country. And now we want to talk to some of the officers that are that went to some of these universities and give them opportunity to say, why did you choose Chesterfield County to be your place of employment for the police department? So again, we got some great folks here from Buffalo State.
Yes, we do. Buffalo State University, we have a great recruiting relationship with them.
Yes.
This is not a new relationship. It has been ongoing now for 20 years.
Yeah.
We work with a lot of universities. Some are more inclined to make sure their students have jobs when they finish, and some are not. But we have found a friend in Buffalo State University.
Right,
and we want to highlight two of their graduates today.
Well, you recruit up there quite often, and of course we got two of them here. Katie is one of the officers I do want to talk to because I did work with her up in investigation and crimes against property a few years ago. So we want to get her introduced and some of her career, and then also talking to Mr. Curtis about his role in Chesterfield County Police Department. Been here for a few years.
Yeah, and I had the opportunity to work with him previously in human resources.
Oh, cool.
There's a connection with both of these.
Well, let's do this.
Both these officers.
Katie, you want to introduce yourself to our audience?
So my name is Katie Hagan, originally from Lockport, New York. Graduated high school in '01. Went to Buffalo State after that, majored in forensic chemistry, graduated in '05, and found myself in Chesterfield, Virginia in 2006.
So when you say you graduated in '05, how did you know about Chesterfield County Police Department?
So I got to the end of my schooling, and basically I was trying to decide what I wanted to do as a career.
Right.
And as I was progressing through my courses, I just really fell in love with crime itself, investigating, interpreting crime scenes, which is a little different from where I majored. You know, forensic chemistry, you're mostly in a lab. You're testing the evidence, you're not necessarily putting it together.
Okay.
So the goal from there then was to become a police officer and, get that experience. And currently I'm in investigations now, which is, a dream come true for me.
Well, good. Well, I'm going to back up a little bit because, again, I like the part of you not in this state, not familiar with Chesterfield County. Did we come up recruiting? Did you get information from one of your career services department about Chesterfield? Did we do a job fair up there?
So essentially, I believe it was a flyer that we had. It was just in the billboard of a common room. And at that time, I had started taking the different tests and so on, civil service tests. And they were Chesterfield was offering a test right around the same time. So we had gone up to Niagara Falls and went through the written test. And then it just kind of got put together from there.
Oh, cool. Now that's when my partner comes in because he loves going up north to the New York area.
And we send those flyers out to a lot of the universities. Sometimes they make it up and sometimes they don't. But we also send them to individual professors or student groups who will get approval. And that has been a while because we no longer go to Niagara Falls. We do all of our testing now on site at Buffalo State University.
Oh, wow. So we do have a relationship with the career services at Buffalo State.
Yes.
All right. So before we get into your career, let me get to Curtis. Give me a little bit about you, sir.
My name's Lucas Curtis. So I'm not actually from the immediate Buffalo area. I grew up about an hour and a half south in a pretty rural part of the state. But I attended Buff State, get my 4-year degree, and I happened across Chesterfield when my roommate brought one of those flyers. They had a whole bunch of them posted on a billboard or a bulletin board, in one of the buildings. He brought one back and said, "Hey, we were both interested in going into law enforcement." He brought it back and said, "Hey, I'm going to go take this test. Do you want to come with me?" And at that time, like Katie was doing, I was starting to look at different police departments and preparing for the civil service exam that the different departments offer up there. And I said, that at least very well might be good practice,
right?
When it comes time for what I actually decide on for a department. And here I am.
Okay. Okay.
So when you found the flyer, did you start to look at, hey, what is Chesterfield, or were you more passionate about being a police officer with the first thing that hired you?
It wasn't necessarily the first thing that came along. I was seriously interested in like New York State Police because my father was a trooper up there for 30 years, and that was kind of what I wanted to do.
Right.
But it was more so initially turned into, hey, I want to take this to do just to get practice for when it comes time for their exam, because at the time their exam was on hold. They were on a hiring freeze. They weren't taking anybody.
Wow.
And so I was like, I'll take it, get the practice in. And I went through, actually it was you, Elliott, that came up and gave the written test up there, took it, and I ended up going all the way through the process here up until the panel interview, just before you would get the final approval to be hired. And it came down to, I was only 20 at the time when I first went through the process, and they said, I was willing to put my degree on hold to come down and start this career. But ultimately, after discussing it with my background investigator, we came to the conclusion it was a better idea for me to finish rather than start the academy, try and do night school,
exactly.
The whole 9 yards. And that was the right decision. But I went through the process again and got hired.
Good.
Now, how long before you went back through the process?
So the first time I went through was probably I think it was 2012 into 2013.
Okay.
And then I waited about a year and basically took everything over again. It was like right before I left Buff State, I had to take the written test again. And, they came up again and offered it. And so I took it and went through the whole process the second time.
Good.
No, both of you are from New York. So what variable was it that you had to move here to Virginia?
Good question.
Because that's a big question I get from a lot of young people. How far are you away?
Yeah.
What's the lifestyle like? What's the climate like? And, I always tell them the climate, if it sprinkles snow here in Richmond, everything's locked down.
Right.
We do not function.
Right.
But you will be hating life in August and September with the heat.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say, essentially, to do police work in New York is very difficult.
Okay.
The process itself, getting hired, the way that they offer police academies, it's not easy and it's not guaranteed.
Okay.
Going through Chesterfield's process, I knew,
Where
that
you were
was a
gonna be,
guaranteed
exactly.
process as long as I made it through each portion of, background interviews and so on.
Walk us through the process in up north, meaning that you're going to go through a regional academy, most likely, unless you're going through the state police or through Buffalo Police Department. If you put in and correct me if I'm wrong, if you put in for the department, you have to go through a regional and then hope that you can get into that department. Is that the way I understand it?
Correct, as far as it was back then.
Back then, okay.
Essentially you pretty much had to take the civil service exam.
That's it, okay.
And then you're pretty much assigned a number from there.
Okay.
And then you have to go through regional academies, which you pay for. And there's no guarantee at the end that you would get a job in law enforcement.
Okay.
So that is very different to here, where if you interview with Chesterfield, you test with Chesterfield, they pay for the academy.
And pay you.
Put you through the process, and it's like, if you can make it through the academy, then you're here.
Right. Okay.
It's unusual when I show up and said, hey, you test today, you will start on March 2nd of 2022 academy.
Right. And you're getting a salary while you're going through.
And they have a lot of questions. Do I have to pay to be in your academy and all that stuff?
Okay, let's walk through your career. I mean, you come in as a patrol officer.
Correct.
Where do you go from there? How long? Again, I know you said 7 years.
So I spent 8.5 years in patrol.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I really wanted to get out of patrol, everything that you possibly could, to learn everything I could while on patrol before moving forward,
Right.
so I can have that knowledge going into it.
Mm-hmm.
So right around I think it was 8-year mark so essentially I say 8.5 years. It was that field trainings portion. I'm kind of including that. But
Sure.
after 8
Right.
years by myself on patrol, I really started to fall in love with investigating crimes that I was given, calls that I was taking, really finding myself wanting to follow it through.
Right. Good for you.
So then I had put through the process, and lucky enough, first process I went through, I was invited into crimes against property.
Okay.
And from there, I spent 2 years and then moved into essentially our violent crimes.
Let's go back to crimes against property, because we did work together in
Right.
crimes against property. What does that detail? What is that all about?
So essentially in crimes against property, you're investigating burglaries, larcenies, car break-ins, frauds,
Okay.
so on. Basically anything that doesn't involve something happening to a person.
Right. Okay. From there, you go to where? Crimes against.
Crimes against persons.
Okay, and detailing that, not getting into the cases and what they, the rape cases and things of that sort about, the persons, but what do you do in that? What is that all about?
So essentially, I'm currently assigned as a gang specialist
Okay.
under the homicide unit.
Okay,
Basically, we investigate any crime, violent crime, gun violence, malicious woundings, severe assaults, I think, for northern speech.
okay,
And basically anything terrible that can happen to a human being is essentially what we are assigned to investigate.
wow, okay, good. Curtis?
Currently, I'm in patrol. I've been here about almost coming up on 8 years now.
Okay.
I'm kind of the same mindset of Katie. I want to get a lot out, as much as I can, out of my job as just a patrol officer, and I really like patrol. I feel like I get the ability to do a lot of different things in my day. Whether it's something related to traffic or something related to investigating an actual crime. I get to do a little bit of everything. I get to interact, face to face with a lot of people throughout my day, most of which are very supportive here in Chesterfield. And,
If you would give me your, do you rotate shift? Are you permanent on?
no, so I'm permanent day work right now. I work what's called our Appomattox division, which is a little bit more of the southern part of our county. It has a little bit, the courthouse area, and it has the rural area down in the the Matoka.
Okay.
We border the Appomattox River, which is why it's called the Appomattox region. But I'm permanent day work. I've been on days now for probably close to 2 years.
Oh, good.
But before that, majority of my career has been spent working nights.
So what other specialists or groups that you're with in patrol?
So currently I'm an FTO, which is a field training officer. So when the new people come out of the academy and they go into training, I'm one of the people that helps train them for brief periods of time, and they rotate to other training officers. But I also get to do stuff with the SRU, which is the Special Response Unit, and they do like the civil disturbance responses. So the people you see standing out there for riots, that kind of thing.
See, Ella, I was part of that.
Right, I was not. No.
Not the rioter. I'm part of the unit.
I'd rather go get food, drink,
Yeah,
make
there
sure
you go.
everybody's
There you
comfortable
go.
as opposed to actually standing out there. Now, no, you said your father was a trooper for 30 years.
Yeah.
Do either of you come from a family who has a legacy in law enforcement?
For me, it's just my dad. Nobody, as far as I'm aware, nobody else has any kind of law enforcement history. My grandfather was I guess my paternal grandfather, he was a music teacher for years. I can't even tell you how many years. Longer than I've been alive,
Right.
for sure. But I guess my maternal grandfather, he was in the Navy for
Okay.
a few years, served in the Korean War.
Katie, how about your family? Are you? anyone else?
My brother and I would be the first.
right.
So
That's right.
my unique situation is my brother also was hired with Chesterfield, and he works as one of our canine officers.
And I don't think we have any other siblings in the department right now.
We don't have any
We
other
don't-
brother and
Sisters.
sisters.
We do have brothers, right?
Yes.
Right.
So that's a challenge, I guess.
Right.
Is I would like to see some more brother sister pairs.
Right.
So
Yeah.
And you all did the academy at the same time.
yes,
Okay.
Awesome.
That's a good experience. I mean, that's
it was fantastic.
Yeah, I thought about it the other day
Especially
when I
that support.
contacted you about this. I'm like, I know we have brothers here, but
Yeah.
I don't think we have any other brother sibling groups
Right, right.
here. Well, one of the other questions that I always get when we're in Buffalo at Buffalo State is, what's the environment been? So you've been here, you've settled in, you've become acclimated to the community. How do you think overall Chesterfield or Richmond, the Richmond metro area has been for young people moving to this area?
For me, the transition was not as difficult as I thought it would be. We come from a very small, very close family. And it was probably harder for them, I think, at that time than it was for us because we were young. And once you get here, I mean, especially in police academy, you're doing so many different things. You're not even really consciously thinking about missing home.
Right, right.
So I think that it was a very easy transition. It was very nice that it did not snow for 8 months or so out of the year. That was fabulous. I mean, I think it's going to be 80 degrees next week. I don't think my parents reported that being the case
Right.
up there. So,
Right.
I mean, really, and you just have everything here. You have Virginia Beach, you have the mountains, you have rivers. I mean, there's so much offered in one place. It's
Right.
been amazing.
And that's what we talk about when we're recruiting, that we're central Virginia, that you can get to Virginia Beach in 2 hours, Northern Virginia in 2 hours, the mountains in 2 hours. If you like shopping, I mean, you got so many opportunities to go to, different hobbies that you have, which I love about this central Virginia. Curtis, when it comes down to your family, how is your immediate family taking you being in law enforcement? And Kate, I come back to you as well with that. How do your immediate family feel about this partnership that you have with not only the police department, but the community?
My family is very, very supportive. My immediate family, my wife is very supportive of it. She knows how much my career means to me, and she does a lot at home to make sure that I feel supported with what I'm doing.
Sure.
My parents, they still live in New York. They're about 8 hours away. They come down and they visit very frequently. They love it here. It helps now that there's a grandbaby in the mix for them.
Congratulations.
So my mom was really nervous when I first moved down here.
Sure.
I think she was more nervous for me when I started than when my dad started as a trooper in New York. There were a couple times when I remember being in field training, and it kind of told me just how nervous she was. She had a scanner app on her phone.
Wow.
And she was listening to the Chesterfield County Police Department on her scanner, and occasionally, because it would combine all of our radio channels into one, she would catch something that I would say on the radio, and she would send me a text message. It'd be like 2 a.m, and she'd send me a text message. Well, I just heard you on the radio, and she'd ask about what I just been doing and what happened and what she took a very strong interest in what I was doing.
Good for
and
her.
I think that was kind of her way to
Keep in touch.
keep in touch,
Yeah,
keep that
exactly.
nervous energy
Yeah, exactly.
from permeating through. And she was very supportive. My dad was very supportive. We had a pretty good heart to heart. Probably about a year or so after I started. He wished that I hadn't gone into law enforcement. He told me he did it so that I didn't have to. But he was very proud of
good.
what
Good.
I
I see
had
that.
done and accomplished. So he's even though he wished I hadn't, because he saw and he sees what we do firsthand every day, and he wouldn't wish that on me. I get where he's coming from as a father, but he's also very, very proud of what I've done.
That's
Good.
good.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Good. Thank you for that. Katie?
So obviously both my parents are extremely proud of us. My poor mom, though, having both of her babies in Virginia doing law enforcement, of course, she's normally a nervous wreck until the days that she knows we're both off.
Right.
So,
Right.
as stressful as it is, I mean, we always make sure to, call at least once a week. You just keep that relationship strong. Just because there's that much distance between us does not mean that you have to not be close anymore.
Sure.
So I think it's just one of those things where you appreciate being far away from your family. You don't leave angry,
Right.
these conversations.
Good.
So I think that's something, being here, being far away, it's actually a positive.
Right.
Because it's also helpful when day to day.
Sure.
It's just a life experience that you automatically have, especially if you are someone who lives in Buffalo and comes here. That's an experience you can relate with other people.
Right.
So you're kind of ahead of the game almost,
Cool.
so
Good.
to speak.
Good. So we always
good.
ask folks now, law enforcement is stressful. Our families, you're part of the community.
Right.
What's your hobbies? What do you do to say, okay, I'm leaving my job? Me as a part-time, not good golfer, is my time of getting away and saying, this me and and Elliott has his hobbies.
I enjoy reading, I travel.
You travel. What are your hobbies? What do you do to relieve you from this pressure that we have as officers?
So I'm lucky enough to have a place on the Rappahannock River. We have a camper and a permanent site, so normally on the weekends we'll go there, go kayaking.
Oh, good.
I also make epoxy river cables, so I do that as well, either after work or weekends, so on. So it's just something that is completely out of the way of law enforcement, which I really recommend. I think it's crucial in order to be mentally strong, because I think physically, everybody thinks this is a very physical job, but it's actually probably more mental than it is physical.
Good. That's
So
good.
working on your mental health in that way here is, it's the way to keep going, be successful.
Awesome.
Right.
Curtis?
I like computers. I like playing video games. It's a real good release for me. I enjoy collecting trading cards and traveling too.
Okay.
It's just something to kind of help take my mind off of things, and I enjoy building computers. Pretty much everything start to finish with the computer I enjoy doing. So that's my main outlet right now, since we haven't been able to do quite as much traveling with the new baby and everything.
Until the baby gets a little
Yeah,
older.
it's
We
kinda-
would definitely have some hobbies that you've been
Yes.
doing.
Yeah.
Well, I think this does it. I mean, I think you all have done a great job. We're proud of Buffalo State graduates being here and our relationship with them, and hopefully we will get other graduates from Buffalo State
Oh
University
yeah,
as well.
we'll definitely be back up there recruiting because we got some good officers from Buffalo State.
You have anything you all like to add before we close out?
To be honest, we are very lucky, very spoiled here with the community. If you really want to get into law enforcement, this would be a place I would recommend.
Yeah, this is something that I feel like I kind of stumbled into, and I'm very, very thankful and very happy where I'm at now, being here, and very thankful for everything the friendships and the partnerships that I've made with the community and with the department.
And you like the community in this area?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's good. All right, brother.
That wraps it up.
That wraps it up.
Well, we'd like for our listeners to know that they can always reach out and follow us on all of our social media accounts. And we have changed our email address for our applications.
Yes.
Since our last episode, it is no longer Chesterfield PD. Please recruit at chesterfieldpd.com. I've already wiped that out. It is joinccpd.org is the new website. So check that out. We're making a lot of positive changes in recruiting. Dio, I appreciate it.
Another great one.
We appreciate all that Chris and Lena have done here today to
Yes.
set this up and do the sound engineering for us. And we will see you and hear you on the next episode.
Awesome.